In this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders, Jotaro and his companions travel to India, a land of explosive diarrhea and the Kama Sutra. In all seriousness, by the end of this week's episode, you're gonna be asking yourself, what in the actual fuck did I just see? But honestly, that's pretty normal for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, a series which always tends to live up to its bizarre title. In this week's episode, no exception, my friends. What I think I loved most about this episode was that it featured the character of Jean-Pierre Polnareff going completely lone wolf on the group and deciding to hunt down the stand user with two right hands. His name is Centerfold, and he actually makes his first full appearance this week, albeit the actual character himself is covered in shadow most of the time to try and keep him mysterious. But we actually do get to see his stand in action, and it's awesome to say the least. It's called the Hanged Man, and it takes on the appearance of this mummified ninja who can have these blades come out of his wrist, a la Assassin's Creed. It's pretty awesome, but the coolest thing about this stand is its actual ability. It can actually attack you through reflections. Whether you be looking at a mirror, or looking at a puddle on the ground, or a fresh glistening bottle of beer, if you're caught in the reflection, he can somehow attack you. And this makes for some really awesome and unique battle scenes. But Centerfold is not alone. He is actually joined by another one of Dio's goons by the name of Whole Horse. The minute I saw this guy, he was just hilarious. He's basically just like Polnareff in terms of personality, but his actual introduction is just bizarre, to say the least. So he's going through the desert, riding on this elephant, hanging out with some underage Indian girl who's completely obsessed and enamored with him and wants to immediately marry him, but Whole Horse is a loner. He doesn't want anything to do with this. He's a drifter, and basically he's just hitting it and quitting it. So he gets back onto his elephant and rides into the sunset where he meets up with Centerfold, and this is where we get to see their abilities demonstrated, and it's awesome because there's this cobra that's about to attack them, and Whole Horse's stand is he's able to summon a gun, and he shoots the cobra, its head starts flying off towards Centerfold, literally about to bite him, but as it gets caught in the reflection of this bottle, his Hanged Man is able to cut it up into a ton of pieces. Just seeing them together is awesome, and they're obviously one of the stronger groups associated with Dio, unlike the other stand users that we saw at the beginning of the series, which frankly were just appetizers here, because the battle at the end of the episode is what really sets up the stage for something nice. So, when Polnareff left Jotaro's group, he didn't exactly leave on good terms. He actually got into a big fight with Avdol. And speaking of Avdol, I love when they actually first arrived to India, how excited he was to get there and how he was sort of building up into something nice. But as soon as they got there, they were completely assaulted by everyone because there's so many freaking people in India. And you gotta realize this is just in the 1980s. Imagine what it's like right now. So Avdol and Polnareff have this little tiff as he's leaving. And at the very end of the episode, Polnareff himself is actually confronted by Whole Horse and they start to fight. And this is when he brings out his gun again. And at first when he showed what his stand was, I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool. He can summon a gun. It's not really that big a deal. But it actually extends to more than just using a gun. Apparently when he fires the bullet, he can control the trajectory of the bullet. He can actually curve it and move it around. If he misses you, he can actually make it come right back around and hit you from behind. So that's a really dangerous technique. In fact, I love the scene when they first start to fight, where Polnareff summons his silver chariot. He removes all the armor from it immediately so that it can move really fast. And I thought it would have been really cool if he was actually able to cut the bullet in half, but as soon as he starts to cut right through it, it moves away and starts to hit him. But that's when Avdol comes in and he saves the day. But through a combination of Whole Horse and Centerfold working together, suddenly Avdol gets caught by the Hanged Man and gets stabbed from behind, and then suddenly gets shot in the head from this frickin' bullet and falls over, supposedly dead. This I do not believe quite yet. The only reasons behind this are, 1, Avdol is featured heavily in the intro of the show. I don't think they would put him in there so much just to have him get killed off a mere 10 episodes into the series. 2nd, yes, the bullet did look like it hit him in the head, but I didn't see any sort of bullet hole. I didn't see anything. I'm guessing maybe the bullet just grazed him or something, and he's mostly passed out from the massive, stabbing that he received from the Hangman. The scene itself actually manages to get somewhat poignant, though, because as Avdol is sitting there pretty much defeated, Polnareff is trying to put on this front like it doesn't really bother him too much, and Kakyoin's giving him a really tough time about it, but then he suddenly starts to break down, and you can see it's sort of affecting him kind of the same way his sister was killed, and he doesn't want to see any more of his comrades die, and that's the end of the episode, setting it up for another one right there. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of Stardust Crusaders? I loved it a lot. I loved the whole setup of the entire episode, of them traveling to India. I like the fact that Polnareff is getting a little bit of development here, although I still want more development from the main character, Jotaro, even though he's essentially just a replacement for the last JoJo, who also happens to be in the series as well. But still, that's maybe a topic for another video, because Polnareff in and of himself is a really great character. You know, he already had the episode where he was fighting against the doll, and now he's having this episode right here, which is sort of like his own little mini arc. And speaking of the Polnareff guys, the villains this week were fantastic. I like that they're keeping Centerfold kind of secret because they're building him up quite a bit. I can't wait to actually see him in full and more of what his abilities are. Obviously, his biggest weakness is that he relies on reflections, so the only way to really fight against him would just be able to fight in an area with no mirrors or anything that he can reflect off of. Otherwise, he's not really all that dangerous. Otherwise, there's Whole Horse, who, again, I said he's similar to Polnareff in personality, and you could really see that at the end of the episode when they were having their little standoff and they were trying to, like, mess with each other and psych each other out. Started laughing repeatedly. It was really awesome. I also like the fact that Whole Horse has his own little catchphrase, the gun is mightier than the sword, a nice little riff on the pen is mightier than the sword, and frankly, I just can't wait to see more of his abilities, and maybe he'll be able to summon even just another gun, or maybe even a different type of gun. Maybe he can have more than just a pistol. Otherwise, I think he's a really cool character, and him combined with Centerfold makes for a really deadly combination. Avdol himself, I don't believe he's dead yet. I'm sticking to my guns on that. I just don't think they would kill that character off this early. Plus, Avdol seems like he's going to be really important. Frankly, I don't want his character to die. I think he's pretty damn badass, and I want to see more of what the Magician's Red can do. So, don't kill off Avdol yet, guys. He's an awesome character. Otherwise, I loved this episode. I loved the artwork. I loved the animation. I like the way they portrayed India, especially the way they built it up at the beginning. It's really, really funny, and it's kind of realistic at the same time. There's also a lot of really weird humor this week, like the scene at the beginning where Polnareff goes to the bathroom to take a shit, and as he's sitting down on the toilet, he realizes that there is a pig's head in there, and that's because the toilet is built above a pig pen, so that means in India, the pigs are eating human shit. I don't know if this is true or not, but India, that is nasty. That is fucked up. However, it made for a pretty funny scene, so I like that as well. So there were a lot of really great things about this episode. I probably didn't even talk about all of the major bits. What I can say is, if you're following the series, check this one out. I liked this episode a lot. I even like the fact that they actually cut out the ending altogether. As much as I love Walk Like an Egyptian, I like it because it kept the pacing going, and they showed an action scene during the credits, and it just sort of ended with action, and I thought that was awesome. It just gets me even more pumped up for next week's episode. So, I loved this episode a lot, and I don't really have any complaints with it, aside from the fact that maybe it could have gone a little quicker. So, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 this week. Just a really solid episode of the series that you must check out. Please check out this series if you haven't yet, guys. It is awesome. I want to hear what you guys thought about this week's episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and you can tell me with your comments below. Please, tell me about your favorite moments, and is Avdol actually going to die? And do you have any other things that you want to see from the future of Stardust Crusaders? Remember, guys, before you leave, hit the like button, give the video a thumbs up, you freaks! It helps out our videos a lot! Remember to subscribe to the channel, it helps us out a lot too! You can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews. We're also on that newfangled social media stuff like Twitter and Facebook. You'll find links for all of that stuff in the description box below. Also, if you guys would like to, you can also directly donate to us so you can help keep Super Kami Guru 9000 alive. So, that will conclude my review today, guys. Super Kami Guru 9000. Out.